2 isn't that far away. So,
Yeah.
I thought these are those in between.
Good morning, everyone. We do not have quorum yet, but we're going to go ahead and get started on these presentations. So I will call to order the Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting for June 13th. May I have roll call?
Gums. Linder. Mr. Linder. Roth.
Roth is here.
Epi. Williams.
Williams here.
Leonard. Molina.
Molina present.
We do not have an in-person quorum.
Okay, we do not have an in-person quorum. If we do establish one, we have Mr. Linder, who requested remote attendance, and Mr. Leonard. We're going to go ahead and move on with our presentations. So we will skip the approval of minutes. We have no one signed up for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Our monthly financial reports are on file. We have Merit Commission on the agenda. I don't have anyone here from the Merit Commission. So we will move to KingCom.
Good morning. Couple updates this morning and some new employees to introduce the board to. We continue the training process. We continue the hiring process, but I'm thrilled to introduce two of our newest hires hired in June, and it is John Snowden. John is our new training manager and will be helping us with both current new hires and the new training process, as well as continued education and refresher training for our staff, kind of an ongoing thing. So we welcome John with years of public safety experience, most recently at Naperville Police for 9 years as a dispatcher and trainer. And then also we welcome Lexi, and I don't want to mispronounce her name, but Lexi Tepescu. Yes, hopefully that's right. Lexi joins us as our new telecommunicator. She just started this week, and she does have a couple of years of public safety telecommunicator experience. So we're thrilled to have them both. We do continue to kind of struggle and advocate for some more space, especially for John. John, as our training manager, is kind of sharing some training space with Sarah right now, but we are out of office space. We don't really have a conference space. We don't have a meeting space, and we certainly don't have a training space. So right now, John and our deputy director, Sarah Stofa, are doing some scenario-based training as we typically do in a classroom setting for the first couple of weeks in the front space of the Yellow House. But that has its own challenges. If that space is booked, we have to find alternative plans. We are going live with a project with our police agencies in this month, as well as next month. We're doing the training and we're searching for space as it aligns with our training weeks as well. So that is just something on our radar that we continue to look for and advocate for.
Oh, welcome, both of you. Thank you.
All right. In addition, thank you guys for coming. In addition, our monthly reports are on file. Please let me know if you have any questions. I did note that we do have kind of a dramatic increase in calls for service, about 1,000 more this month, but we did see a decrease in phone calls over last year. So the decrease in 911 phone calls is kind of unpredictable, but the increase in calls for service typically comes from officer initiated activity. So traffic stops out with vehicles, just initiated traffic on their own, or more response to calls for service that came from a 911 call. And that's all I have this morning.
Okay, any questions or comments for our KingCom director?
No.
Okay, with Ms. Gums present, we do have quorum now. Any opposition to allow Mr. Linder and Mr. Leonard in remote attendance? Okay, so I'd like to entertain a request for unanimous consent of approval of minutes of May 16th.
Roth would request unanimous consent for.
Okay, any opposition? Okay, minutes are approved. And now we will move on to emergency management.
Good morning. I don't have a lot new to report other than we are expecting or potential severe weather this afternoon. So we are in the 2 out of 5 category, but the 3 isn't far away. So our office will be watching that. Beyond that, we were working on a bunch of things, but nothing significant to report at this time. Our reports are on file. I can entertain any questions.
Okay, any questions for our OEM director? Okay, Scott, thank you for being here. And then we will move on to Sheriff and Corrections. Under Sheriff Johnson, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Monthly reports are on file and we have one resolution to review. Resolution is approving the purchase of a replacement vehicle for Kane County. We're replacing obviously one with one.
Gums will move.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and approve?
Gums made the motion. I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Ms.
Roth.
Gums, second by Mr. Roth. Any questions or comments? This already went through administration. I think in the future, we don't really need to review these through JPS just to save time. But any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay. Any questions for our sheriff, under sheriff? Under Sheriff Johnson, I did have one, I guess, for next meeting. If we can have a review of the amount of inmates that are currently in jail compared to the amount of inmates that we were housing in the previous 2-3 years, just to see if there's been a change with the Safety Act. I'm not sure if there really has been a significant amount of inmates, but
Absolutely. We will actually do a presentation from before, present, and currently too, because there actually has been an upward trend. Previously, before, we have been steady with no change, but we've actually seen an increase coming forward. So we'll actually next time have a presentation where you can see before, medium, and right now.
okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to our coroner. I do not see I don't see our coroner online, so his report is on file. Judiciary and Courts.
Good morning, Andrew O'Brien, Court Administrator. Judge Bill apologizes, can't be here this morning. We just have a couple updates that we wanted to provide. We are having the state come out next week and work with us the next 2 weeks to get all of our wiring done for our electronic recording. So we're very excited about that. The first and second floors of the Judicial Center will be wired for electronic recording for court reporting purposes. And then just passed through the board. We will start work shortly on the renovations and changes to 3rd Street, moving our jurors from the basement to the first floor. And then there will also be a project for bathrooms for the diagnostic center at the KBC. That's all I have unless there's questions.
Any questions for Ms. O'Brien? Okay, thank you for being here. We'll move on to State's Attorney. I have State's Attorney Mosser online. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So I'm in beautiful Galena right now. Sorry to all of you down there. I am here at the State's Attorney's Conference, which we have twice a year. So I'm going to get off the call after all of this. Our monthly reports are on file. The biggest thing that I would like to report to Judicial and Public Safety is that last month I went down to Springfield. I had reported before that I was attempting to get $3 million from the state to kind of help supplement our budget, given the new positions that we had to have for the Safety Act. When we see different types of crime go on an uptick, as Under Sheriff Johnson said, obviously there's more people in our jail because of the way that this law is structured, and I can talk to you more about that on another day. We were unsuccessful, unfortunately, in getting the $3 million for Judicial and Public Safety, but thanks to Senator Linda Holmes, she was able to take a portion of the budget that she's given and give it to my office of $1 million. So this obviously is something very significant that we're going to use to kind of help throughout this whole budget process. We've announced this to the community already just to show that we have been very proactive in trying to make sure that we get the resources and continue to make sure that Judicial and Public Safety is well funded, because we are obviously out there to make sure and keep our community safe. So I wanted to let all of you know about that, see if you have any questions about it.
Thank you. Any questions at this time for our State's Attorney? No, great news. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. I do have Terry Hunt there. We have a small presentation about the process that we've been going through in regards to the budget. So if he can come up to the podium and he will do that presentation for you.
Mr. Hunt, your small presentation.
My small, it was going to be a small presentation, but everybody else has been so quick, I've decided to expand it a little bit here. So as everyone is aware, the Finance Department is making changes in the budget process, and Those changes ultimately are going to improve the process, but in the interim, even the most well-reckoned plans take time to research and tweak and test and implement. And as a result, we're at this point unable to submit our information directly into New World as we ordinarily would. That doesn't mean we haven't been working on the budgets, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to put this forward. We have supplied finance with all the information that was requested on time in accordance with the budget calendar. And the presentation that I'm going to give this morning is a really high-level overview of where we are in the budget process. It's absolutely a preliminary draft. It's subject to some changes and finalizations, but I think it gives you a good picture of where the state's attorney is for the FY25 budget. So see if this works. All right, so this just talks a little bit about the SAO team. We will have a complete organization chart when we do our final budget presentation. But essentially, we've got the state's attorney and the first assistant that head everything up. We have chiefs in 3 divisions, deputies in 2 of those, and executive directors in both the CAC and the child support unit. And then we have, because the way State's Attorney Mosser has organized the office, verticals, we have a number of teams. You can see them all listed here. I won't read them all, but we have a team lead, an ASA for each of those. And then in some cases, they have either one or multiple ASAs that report to them in that team concept. We also have trained staff that head up various teams and the general operations and executive team of the state's attorney's office. Again, those will all be included in the org chart that's presented when we do the final presentation. This budget draft proposal is based upon what we knew as of May 31st, which sort of buried the lead of Jamie's announcement about the $1 million grant. But even if we had that information, that grant is on the state fiscal year, which runs July to June. It doesn't align necessarily with ours. So we're uncertain at this point as to how much will be applicable for FY24, how much will carry over into FY25. So that will be one of the things that we will know more about in the coming weeks. In addition to that, there are other assumptions that were made. We didn't have the health and dental rates. Finance gave us an estimate of 10% increase over the previous years, so we included that. Interest income is a calculation that's done by the finance department, and the allocation of that is a finance department. So for this purpose, we have not included interest income at all in our budget presentation. We do have 5 funds, though, that the Riverboat Grant provides an integral part of their operational shortfalls. And with those 5, we had to make the same assumptions regarding interest and health and dental cost. And in keeping with the intent to reduce our reliance upon the Riverboat Grant, each of those grants has been reduced. The requests have been reduced by 50% of the fund balance that was available in those special revenue funds as of May 3rd. That's the most current we had at the time. So this chart is going to do kind of a high level category revenue and expense. You can see the left-hand column has all of the various budget categories that are assigned by the finance department. In the shaded green area, the SAO combined is the total. But the next column over is that portion that is general fund only. And then the civil division, which is a quasi special revenue unit. And then all of the special revenue funds, which are self-balancing. They all have a 0 net impact on the bottom line. You can see that we're forecasting at this point just under $12 million in excess expenses over revenues on a combined basis, 9.3 million of that from the general fund and 2.7 from the civil division. This next one is going to show a comparison then. That same information, the yellow shaded area is the FY24 amended budget. And then the green is that same presentation we had on the slide earlier. You can see that the combined SAO FY24 amended budget has $11.8 million in expenses in excess of revenues. We are looking that to go to just under $12 million. So a fairly modest increase in the net impact. And again, that does not include that $1 million grant that we don't know exactly how that's going to be allocated. In terms of comparison, we did those categories and we did the year over year, both in dollars and percentage terms. The budget directive was that we were trying to hold our contractual commodities to a 3% increase from FY24 to 25. And our proposed draft at this point actually includes a decrease in those categories within the general funds, civil, and the combined special revenue funds. And you can see that we, the year over year change, that gray shaded column, that's the dollar change from one year to the next in the various categories. The white area is the percentage changes, and the little red highlight, that's the contractual and commodities. You can see that we are actually budgeted to be down across the board in those areas. Then we get to personnel costs, and personnel is the biggest portion of every budget, not just the state's attorneys, but it is one that takes the most time and requires the most attention. And I've sometimes been called like a numbers nerd, and I'm not really offended by that. I'm not always a people person, but the next few slides, I think it's important to understand that the people that are working at the state's attorney's office, the attorneys and the investigators and the staff, they are hardworking, they are passionate about their job, and it's been a real pleasure to work with them and an honor to be on that team. So I'm going to jump back to the numbers. That was just my personal editorial. The salary position here starts with our FY24 salary. It includes changes in the base rate for promotions. As a means of explanation, we have a number of DCFS funded positions at the CAC. DCFS came in and made retroactively, at least how it impacted our budget, minimum salary requirements for our case managers, which we had to make changes to their rates effective October 1st. And then we've got another one scheduled for July 1st. Those are fully funded positions, so the net impact on the bottom line is zero, but we did have to raise the pay in order to meet the requirements of the position. At this point, we don't have any office-wide merit increases factored in here. So that's something that we probably hope to revisit next year, but we did the first step last year, and we want to be mindful of the impact on the general fund. So we do have normal fund-to-fund personnel transfers. We have people that within the team concept move from one team to another, which makes changes in the way they impact the funds, not as smooth as we'd hope. But the bottom line is that using the same number of positions, providing a 3% COLA to the applicable positions, the net year-over-year salary expenses increased by 2.48%, which is well within keeping of the budget directive. So here's, again, these are all the numbers. You can see by fund, by the FY24 budget, FY25 proposal that's in this budget, and the net change. We're looking to go from a little over 15 million to about 15.4, change of 373,000, which is 2.48% on an office-wide basis. We are continually looking for grant opportunities, not just the one that Jamie was successful in landing with the assistance of Senator Holmes. But it's important to understand that we do have 8 grants currently that fund or entirely or substantially subsidize 33 of the positions that we have. So it isn't as if every new position or every position that's in the state's attorney is reliant upon tax dollars, or at least not the property tax dollars. Of our grants, we have 4 that expired June 30th. They've all been renewed successfully. They've all been renewed at rates that were at least as high as they were in FY24. We have 4 others that are expiring in September. We have applications in process, and we are hopeful that they'll be renewed. And we have included those at the same level as we had in FY24. We have 2 other grants that are applied for, but have not been awarded. We've not included any money for those. Positions, employee position, the whole position budgeting module concept has been an interesting exercise. Positions is not the same as an FTE. They seem like they're similar, but they're not. In our case, when we have positions, that also includes not just our full-time employees, but part-time staff, law clerks, temporary seasonal interns, and in the arbitrary module, those all count as positions, whether they work for 6 weeks or 6 months. So it's important to understand that there are no new full-time positions in this proposal that we're presenting today. In fact, if you look only at positions, it can be misleading. In the case of the FY25 budget, we started with 193 positions in FY24. We have 193 positions in FY25. The net savings, though, has been as a result of adding 3 part-time positions and consolidating positions with a net of 3 reduced full-time positions. So this next chart shows essentially where we are, 193 in 2024, 193 in 2025, although there's a slight change in the composition. You see, we have 4 fewer full-time staff in one level. We have 1 additional ASA, and we have 3 new part-time staff. So it's a net of 0. So we had, again, the vacant positions has been something of a topic of discussion. Because we have so many employees and because there are opportunities elsewhere, we have a lot of turnover just ordinarily. We have short-term vacancies that occur, but we are working diligently to fill those as soon as they pop up. At the time this budget was proposed, we had 3 vacant positions for ASAs in the general fund. I know that one of them has already been filled since then. We have an offer on another. So we probably really only have a net of 1 at this point. We have 2 vacant positions in CAC, and those are both grant funded. So I think we've done our best to comply with the vacant position policy as explained to us. And that's the end of my presentation. If we have any questions, I'll be happy to try to.
Any questions for Mr. Hunt? I see Mr. Roth. Go ahead.
I have several. On turnover, I know last year that was a big issue. How does it compare to this year?
Less. We have less turnover since we have received increases in pay. Because as you know, the majority of the left.
Bruce, I don't know if you can say percent. I mean, because it was kind of a crisis mode last year. I mean,
Yes.
is it getting back to, and there's no such thing as normal in the real world today, but do we feel we have it under control?
As close to normal as we ever get at that office. Our turnover has slowed. It has reduced. I reviewed with First Assistant Bayer yesterday, our position board, which has the fewest asterisks on it that I've ever seen. So the short answer to your question is the turnover has reduced. In actuality, we have been probably more successful in filling vacancies quicker because of an improved salary structure.
Right.
And I think we're always going to have turnover, but it is not at the point of epidemic
Crisis.
right now.
Yeah, okay. And what would you say is the reason? Is that the mayor increase is helping to keep that more under control?
That's
Or is it the weather or,
part of the chance to work with me.
Oh, yeah, I could definitely see that. And of course, Jamie too.
No, it's just
Oh,
Terry.
she's still
I mean-
online. Yes, Jamie.
Okay. And then I had a question regarding grants. You said you're actively looking. Do you have a list of like grants you're going after? It's kind of like a target list. And the second part of this is, are you working with our lobbyists? And I'm sure Ms. Scums can speak up on that too, but we should definitely try to take advantage of our lobbyists because I'm sure there's lots out there and trying to find them sometimes. If we can get help to find them is the first step.
Okay, so I'll answer the
First
the
part,
question
yeah.
part. We are on the 14th congressional shortlist. I can't say Raja's last name.
Okay.
400
Krishnamurthy.
There you are, that one. We are under consideration for a $475,000 grant for technology. We recently applied for an R3 grant, which was a new grant. It would supplement our deferred prosecution and collaborative diversion programs. That's up to a maximum of $419,000. So those are two that we have identified and applied
Okay.
for. There are others that are less specific, but we have a grant manager who works in conjunction with our team leaders, and we are actively researching for grant opportunities. One of the things that's a challenge for us is that in a competitive grant situation, Kane County does not always compare favorably in terms of the review process to Cook County or counties that have higher levels of crime, higher levels of poverty in the community. And as a result, we're not always a high priority, but it doesn't mean we don't apply for everything that we see as an opportunity.
Okay. Follow up on that. Do you put a probability on the success of that? Is it a 1 in a million chance of getting them or?
It is better than that,
Okay.
better than 1 in a million.
Okay.
Much better than 1 in a million. Gums.
But I think that's important. So, to say we're looking at this grant and it's a 50-50 is not as good as if we have a 75% chance.
That's true, but it is also important to understand the nature of grants. Primarily, our grants are used to expand or enhance a specific existing program.
Okay.
They generally do not create a direct offset in the bottom line.
Okay.
The $1 million grant, the DCEO grant from the state, I believe will have a more direct impact on our bottom
Okay.
line and lessen. But the entire design of most grants that we apply for is to supplement,
Yeah.
not supplant. So
Okay.
that's it's good money. It's good for the programs that we're trying to improve or expand, but it doesn't necessarily lessen the burden on the taxpayers. It only allows us to do a better job in certain areas.
And then the second part regarding, are you working with our lobbyists to try to find more?
I
Yes.
believe they hire their own lobbyists, but
Okay.
we do work in conjunction
Okay.
with our lobbyists,
Okay.
but I believe it's
They have
one and
been
the same.
working, yeah, they have been working with our lobbyists and we were chosen for Raja's project, Terry.
Thank you. Appreciate the update.
Okay. Thank you, Terry.
Right, and we do. So we have our own lobbyist, which is Dan Shulman, and he's part of the main reason why we were so successful with our Springfield grant that we got. But we also do work with the county's lobbyist, and that helped with the federal money that we have. So we have been working with everyone in conjunction to make sure that we get as many grants as possible.
Okay.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
We will move on to our public defender.
Good morning. Our reports are on file. Just kind of wanted to comment on some things that Ms. Mosser and Mr. Hunt said. I would agree that since this time last year, we have been able to hire more people, and we are in a similar situation as the state in that we don't have as many openings. So the increase in salary was a huge help to that. As I think, which is the nature of this kind of work. That doesn't mean that we are always fully staffed. It is kind of a revolving door at sometimes. Revolving door is probably a little bit misleading. Right now, we have 2 open spots, and that is, we haven't been there in a long time. So we are making progress, same as the state's attorney's office. So the increase in salary was a huge help to that. And that has helped us get back to a manageable number of vacancies.
Okay, anything else?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, any questions for our willing defender? Okay, we will move on to court service administration. Ms. Ost.
Thank you. I have some sad news. I did email Chair Molina and let her know that Forrest, our courthouse dog, has been diagnosed with a significant mass in his chest. So he is retired. They're investigating what potential therapies or treatments can be done for him. It's impaired his heart and his breathing. And so he's retired much earlier than we had planned. And it's heartbreaking for a lot of us. And we've begun some discussions about the benefit that he's brought and investing into another courthouse dog. And so very briefly, I will say that, and I know that the jail uses dogs as well. They're incredibly useful. This dog was trained specifically to work in a courthouse environment. He is one of the most amazing dogs I've ever seen. When we do groups, he visits the JJC, and those juveniles, he is able to identify the kids with the worst abuse history. And so often their crimes are directly related to how they've been raised and to the abuse that they've suffered. And that dog just knows. He's amazing. So we're heartbroken about that. So more to come. Keep us, please, in your thoughts and in your hearts. So along that line, let me talk a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy. I know that's a weird, awkward transition, but part of what I want to do this morning is to foreshadow the budget process. And I appreciate very much the presentation about the budgeting and how we budget and why we budget. First of all, let me say that I thank this county board when the state's attorney increased their operations around finding online sex predators, investigating those cases, arresting them. We did see an increase through the pipeline of those kinds of offenses going through the court system, and it has an impact on court services. Under the statutes, we are mandated to do sex offender evaluations through our diagnostic center. We are mandated to do something called a pre-sentence investigation. We take all of that information, we present it to the judge, and then the judge makes, as part of the finding, when there's a finding of guilt, a plan, a court order on what conditions this person needs to have on them in order to remain in the community. And I'm simplifying that quite a bit because obviously that goes to the state's attorney, that goes to the public defender, and there's a lot of court action around that in order to come up with a good plan. So we've seen a significant increase in our caseload of sex offenders. Not all of them have had such a direct victim. Many of them were online predation, but nonetheless, it's a predation. It has significant impact. And for some of these people, this was the first step before the next step, which was to do something in person or before they escalated in their own lives. And so by saying all this, what I'm saying is that there's still time to make an intervention with these people. And that is what my office does a lot of. We mandate that people enroll in sex offender groups so that they get on the registration, so on and so forth. And so this board granted me 2 additional sex offender probation officers to handle that caseload. And I want to thank you and let you know that I applied an application for the state of Illinois to the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts to recognize those positions. They did. And so now the county is being reimbursed in full for those salaries. So you took the initiative to give us those positions up front, and now we're being reimbursed in full. So for this fiscal year, that reimbursement is only going to be about $50,000 because those positions pay about $50,000 each. But next fiscal year, that'll be $100,000 to cover both those positions. And as a very brief reminder, when we have those kinds of cost share positions with the state of Illinois, right, the administrative office says, yes, we recognize that you need those people, and so we're going to reimburse the salary. The county only has to pay for the benefits portion. And I did listen to the special committee on budget cuts, and I'm thankful that part of that committee discussion was making those recommendations on what cuts could look like for each department, and then having us come back to the committee to explain what that impact will be. And so by way of saying that, obviously, I mean, my department's a little different, but not significantly different. We all have state reimbursed people, and we're also, a lot of us are union shops. So our last hired, first fired kind of mantra is going to come into play. And obviously with our newer people, although they may be reimbursed in full by the state for the salaries, the county's still on the hook for the benefits. But many of our younger people, they're still on their parents' insurance plans. So by eliminating that position, you're also eliminating your revenue, and you're not actually seeing any benefit to your bottom line because you were never paying out for the benefits to begin with. And so that will be something that we'll have to talk about, because as you do these cuts, they're going to have to go very deep in order to reach the positions where they have families, where they're married, where they're living in the communities, and they're actually pulling benefits. Having said all that up, I will also let you know that we are looking at expanding our DUI court. And I've already spoken to the administrative office and of Illinois courts and informed them that we're seeing a huge need for programming to specifically address our DUI offenders. As you know, King County is one of the few counties in the state that we have all 4 specialty court types allowed by the statutes. For the DUI court, these are not first-time DUI offenders. These are people who've offended 3 times. They've gotten at least 3 DUIs, and they're significantly addicted to alcohol, which is a very pernicious. I mean, it's a tough addiction to beat. The issue, as we all know, is that, that they're addicted to the alcohol. It's legal. It's that they're driving and that they have impaired thinking. So the DUI court focuses a lot on addiction, just like our drug court does. And what we have found, again, here's another tie-in to Forrest, which is why I think about all of this. So often, the research says that people, especially for DUI, addiction, for substance abuse, these are people who had significant abuse and neglect issues in childhood. And so many of them are self-medicating with this addiction process. And so these are difficult cases to handle, and they need a lot of wraparound services. You guys just this last month approved us to have our special fund set up for the DUI. I want to let you know, for the DUI court, I want to let you know that, so that has been set up. We did for 2024 receive a grant from the Department of Transportation for over $141,000. For 2025, we've submitted for a grant for over $200,000. The majority of that is going for treatment services. As Mr. Hunt says, the vast majority of grants we get are only allowed to supplement, not supplant. So I can't supplant the county funds by paying for the salaries, but I can supplement the programming by paying for the people's treatment, which really promotes the idea of success. So in this budget, I am one of those departments who's asked for 3 additional staff, but I'm also letting you know that I'm also asking the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts for those 3 administrative staff, or those 3 staff concurrently, so that hopefully they will approve the reimbursement for those staff. At the same time, the county has approved those staff to be in my budget, and then that cost is paid for by the state of Illinois. And again, the county would only be responsible for the benefits portion if they were a kind of employee that needed to draw down benefits. So that's foreshadowing for you. And also, just making a note that we have received no instructions so far on how long our budget presentation should be per the budgeting calendar. Next month's meeting will be entirely devoted to our budget presentations, and that could be a very lengthy meeting depending on the depth that you want us to go into on that budget. So I'm kind of requesting, it doesn't have to be today, but that there be some kind of guidance on how.
I think there
in-depth
will
we
be.
want
I
us to
think
go.
Ms. Hopkinson mentioned that the calendar isn't the way we wanted it to be. They're
Okay.
behind because of the loading and all that information. So
Okay.
that'll be forthcoming.
Awesome. Thank you. Perfect. I was a little worried about that. Okay. Then in front of you, I have two resolutions. And I will say that in both of these resolutions, they're both for our juvenile detention facility. The way that the resolutions, I just want to explain, the way that the template is for the resolutions in the county system is that it's a yes, no. Is this budgeted? Yes or no. Both of these are more complex than that. I've included some descriptions in the bottom, like partially it's funded, but partially it'll have to come from a different line item. And so I'm happy to answer those questions as we get there. So the first resolution that I have in front of you is to authorize a security system contract for the Juvenile Justice Center. Our current vendor, their contract has expired. And so the vendor that has been chosen is actually part of the procurement cooperative that your purchasing department has authorized for us to be able to pull from. And I'm seeking your approval to move forward with that.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss? and
Roth will
potentially
make the
approve?
motion.
Mr. Roth moves, Mr. Williams seconds.
Thank you. And that's one of those, I wasn't sure if I could talk about it yet
Yes, go
without
ahead.
it being moved. But it's one of those ones where I actually have money in other contractual and commodity line items in different parts of the budget. And I'll work with finance because I'm not sure if I have to do a line item move now or if it just moves because it's all contractual and commodities. So it's part and parcel. So we'll figure that out later at the end of the year. For the next did you take a vote?
Okay, any questions regarding this resolution? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Tepe,
Tepe, yes.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
and Leonard, no, and Molina.
Molina, yes. And just to make sure, Mr. Tepe is online. Is everybody okay with him providing remote access? I didn't have him in the beginning of the meeting. Okay,
Thank you. The next resolution is for the purchasing of cameras for the JJC vehicles. Currently, under the laws, probation officers are not mandated to have body-worn cameras. We would like to install cameras in the vehicles that we use to transport juveniles as a safety measure for the juveniles. That way we can have evidence, if they should act out or do whatever, anything should happen in the middle of a transport, that we have video evidence of the events. And so I'm looking for your permission to enter into a contract to have those installed in our vehicles.
okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve the resolution?
Gums will move.
Ms.
Roth
Gums
was
moves.
second.
Mr. Roth seconds. Okay, any further questions? Ms. Gums?
Gums, here, just a quick question. Out of my element here, but there's no, the added cameras are not going to restrict their rights as juveniles. That falls under everything that's appropriate for them, correct?
Yes, 100%. They are in our custody and we will only use this when we transport them by court order to offsite treatment facilities or like a Department of Juvenile Justice. And we would only pull that. That video is restricted per the Juvenile Court Act. So it is not widely available. We would only download it if we needed it for, like, if there's a car accident or something and we need to prove that they were in the back of the car. That would be the only reason we would need it.
Okay. And then, so that was a huge thing for me because there's different rules as
Yes.
everybody knows for kids. And then also this is all, been run through the state's attorney and it's not in violation with our CBAs or anything like that, right?
No, in fact, the camera would be pointed at the kids and not at the staff. But it's also then becomes a point of protection for the staff as well, because then if an unfounded allegation is made about staff conduct, we could pull the tape to show that there was no interaction between the staff and the kids.
And I'm obviously supportive, just covering bases. So thank you.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Roth,
Roth, yes.
Tepe,
Steffi, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on to finance as well.
All of my other reports are on file. I have nothing else except to point out that in the statistics that I've been giving you every month, I edited it up quickly, and we currently have about 8,000 people just who are residents of Kane County that we are supervising in some form through the department. So just to bring that to your awareness.
Ms. Austin, any questions? Okay, we will move on to Circuit Clerk. Ms. Barrero, good morning.
Good morning. I'm gonna need the clicker. Get it? My report's on file.
So
I
yeah,
have-
it's open, but you'd have to pack it all the way from past the,
Can you please mute Mr. Caius?
oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. So let's see, are you gonna, there you go. There's a couple things I do want to talk about though, before we get to our fabulous annual report. Just some things that we're having a little bit of issues also with the budget process with entering our vacancies. I've discussed this with some of you folks, and I would hope that the county board directs Ms. Hopkinson to let us enter our vacancies as we have them. And then we can always take off, which we need to do, obviously, to decrease our budget by the percentage that it shows on that graph. Currently, we have 11 vacancies. We have 5 in our special funds and 3 that are technically Safety Act vacancies. But we have held off on hiring. No, we do not get the funds for those right away. Those go into the contingency fund. And we have held off on hiring those 3 due to current changes, upcoming changes, amendments to the Safety Act, which happen pretty regularly. So we will need to assess those at a later date. So we probably will not need them this year, but just a point that they are in contingency. They do show as vacancies, but we do not have those funds. So we had 11 vacancies and then 5 in the special funds. So that would have left me with 3. Yes, 3. So I have not entered my vacancies because I need to enter all of them. And Ms. Hopkinson is in control of that. Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I had a question.
Yes, Mr. Roth.
Just on the count, is the 5 included in the 11 or is it total of 16?
The 5 are included.
Okay, thank you.
I think our finance committee and our executive committee had already given Ms. Hopkins direction to move on with the way the policy has been set forth. So I don't think we've made any changes to that policy as of today.
So the county board is directing her to stay with.
To stay on course, yeah.
But 5 of those vacancies are in my special funds.
Yeah, I think we'll carry this offline, but I think from what I understand, we met as an executive board and that was the direction. The direction that was given is just to stay on course.
Okay. All right. So last year, well, one thing I would like to point out that hasn't been discussed, the word retention. We all go through staff at a rate that is sometimes horrible to try and fill. And I have a budget, I was budgeted for 118.5 vacancies. Employees. I have 97 currently, which then puts me below the threshold to only have 2 vacancies, which is totally impossible, but I will try to do my best as to what the county board would like. We have expanded our hours at the Aurora Branch Court for the public. We are open now till 3 o'clock for folks to come in, pay fines and that. carry on any other business, that they would be able to, or would have to come into the main branch, my office on Randall. They can do that in Aurora now till 3 o'clock for all civil cases. I also would like to point out that July 1st, the federal government has, the Labor Department has put stipulations on exempt employees. So anyone that would be 35,000 a year would be moved up then to 43,800. That's July 1st. That's for all of our exempt positions. Also, then January 1st, 25, those same employees would jump to 58,600, which I don't believe is being looked at right now in the budget process. Otherwise, those employees would be able to receive overtime. And currently I have 12. So that's just another thing to look at. And now we'll go to the great news of last year.
Ms. Barrera, are those employees union employees or are they
No,
non-union?
exempt or all non-union.
Okay,
And that is direction from the Department of Labor.
okay. Okay, thank you.
I haven't done this in a really long time, so I might not be able to do this correctly. It is.
It was on.
It was off. Okay. So. Okay, so I'm not gonna like go through this whole thing because it's kind of mundane, but I do want to point out that last year, we were up 14.8% across all cases filed throughout King County. So that's a pretty large jump. And a lot of those fall in the criminal side. This is Karen Herwick. She's my chief deputy, and these are all the offices that are, or all the departments, I'm sorry, that are underneath her. She is also our HR director, because we have not been able to find an HR director for the budgeted salary thus far. These are some of the highlights that our teams have done. We held expungement clinics. We had 2 expungement clinics. We attended job fairs, which I'm sure a lot of us did last year trying to get employees. We also revamped our storage room at the courthouse into a break room for employees. We used furniture and et cetera, brought things home from home so that we can complete it. The building department did put a fresh coat of paint on it and new flooring and new lighting. So it looks great. And it gives the employees somewhere to go and have lunch or a break at the Judicial Center. We also is trying to keep up the morale in our office. We have several days, like Wednesdays, they can wear jeans and a t-shirt with some organization that they have supported, like Mutual Ground or what is that called? The Torch Run, Special Olympics. And then we also got dressed up for Halloween, and that's Kelly Listener. She's always got the greatest costumes ever. She even had contacts in her eyes to make them look like a voodoo person or something. This is our court and office team. Juan has left us. He has moved on, and Jessica below that has taken over his position. She has 4 supervisors and 48 court and office team. Now, her team is the team that attends court. They are deputy clerks that attend all the court sessions throughout the county, which is mandated by the state of Illinois. Let's see, and again, branch courts seem to be our highest as far as cases coming through. And Aurora Branch Court always tops on how many cases, hearings they see or hear. this is strange because in 23, Elgin was higher than Kane, which is really strange because Kane is usually our second highest. This is Candy Allen. She is in charge of our e-file and records team. She has 12 records employees and 7 for the court and office team. That is our e-file team that strictly work from home at no extra cost to the county. They are doing what a lot of counties are now getting AI for. A lot of counties are turning to AI to keep up with the influx of e-filing so it can happen on a 24-hour basis. We have looked into it, but I believe it would be over 500,000 for Kane because we have such a large CMS, et cetera. So maybe down the road, we'll look at it if we continue to not be able to hire. But again, it's very costly, so we're sticking with our e-file team, work from home. It's great. We have 7 members. If we did not have them doing this, we would be behind. And then the teams that go to court would be behind, and it's a domino effect. So this is the e-filing team if you could see this in 2020, total e-filing throughout the county was 163,000. All the way in 2023, it's jumped to 323,000. So everything's on technology, right? So everybody jumps to e-file. So that is why a lot of counties are going with AI, but I'm sticking with my e-file team. I might have to expand that going forward. We'll see how once the Pretrial Fairness Act is implemented more, we figure within a year, we'll have a better idea. I'm sure Ms. Johnson agrees. We'll have a better idea as to what our courts will actually be experiencing with all the changes. We also attend other events. We did the Polar Plunge in Maple Park for Special Olympics. We also have a Cougars game every year that I fund. 3/4 of that for my staff out of my personal expense. Does not come out of any county dollars. And it was originally to build morale, to get them to be a team. And it has been a really big hit. We were going to go last week, but we had to cancel because of the Pride Parade. These are the grants that we've received in the past. In 23, we received over $1 million. We received ARPA grants, and then we also received a grant from the state of Illinois for our microfilm and digitizing all of our records. Once, like I've said in the past, once we do that, all of the records that will be able to be digitized will be digitized and will be the first in the state. This is Monica Lawrence. She's our information technology officer. She is also over the business processing team. And she is our IT person. And honestly, if we did not have her, IT would not be able to function because Monica is the one that knows everything. She knows how to work the system. She knows the old systems. She works with Patrick and Davis and all the guys and Z. I don't even know how to say his last name, but we call him Z. John Zakozik, yes, in IT, and they all work together to make our case management system work. And if it wasn't for her and them, none of you would be able to run your offices. This is also some of the things that Monica and her team has accomplished this year. And that's myself, Monica, and our finance at the Polar Plunge. This is Laura Stegging. She is under Monica Lawrence. She's over the business processing team. They are our IT people. We have 3 as a support team. They're kind of our Q check. They check all the records that go through before they go to the state for any discrepancies. And then we also have 5 system professionals, and they help with all the forms and reporting to the state of Illinois, the state police, et cetera. And this team works in conjunction with Monica on all the case management upgrades. So this is just some of the things that we've done. We visited Springfield with Lisa here and Jason and Latanya. That was interesting. And then we also had a potato day, and these are some of the highlights that we've gone through. So we were at Connects, as I have said in the past, we won the award for 2023, which was huge, huge deal. And those are some of the pictures from our event. This is the Pretrial Fairness Act. We gave put on a presentation with Judge Yetter with the state of Illinois as to how the 16th Judicial was working as a pilot program, and all the things that we've done and implemented going forward so that other counties could take a look at their systems and how they're operating and come with, to get grasp of what actually the state wanted from us. And the only way to do that was through the pilot program. And it was all trial and error, going through all the forms, et cetera, until we can come up with a clean process. This is Lori Johnson. She's my financial officer. She has a supervisor of financial support, which is vacant. It is not in that list, I don't think. It might be. That person retired the day the list was due. And then we also have 3 financial support folks that are under the accounting team. And that's what I mean by retention. If we list the individuals that are vacant, does that include retention or not? Or does it just mean vacant? And this is our budget from last year, and I cannot read it. I don't even remember. Can you read it, Lisa? We were up 4%, I believe that says. So that's not, we have not included any new employees in the past 2 years. We have kept it at what the county has asked. This is our communications officer, Anita Ann Lambert. She's in charge of all communication, the phones, the chat program, the interpreter, our Interprenet. Is that how you say that? For different languages that call into the county. This shows our clearance rates, and this is something we're really, really proud of. In 2022, we were at 103.5%. That is huge for the 16th Judicial. The year before, I should say 21, I believe we were at 99.5. It's been slowly moving up, which is great, and we're very proud of it. So that's actually all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Okay, any questions for our circuit clerk? Mr. Roth, please.
I'm going to keep it limited. 2 parts. The microfilm, what's your estimate when the conversion will be completed?
I believe the grant goes to 26.
Will it take you that long?
Yeah, possibly. We might get done earlier.
Okay. And then, okay, so it's a grant, and then that grant will go away once you're done.
Yes.
Are there other cost savings like space or whatever? Because you're not going to have all that microfilm that we have down the road that we could potentially.
You mean the records? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
our records room is about half.
Okay. And then I want to take this one offline. I'd like to follow up and learn more about what you're doing on the AI and
Okay.
the advantage. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Okay. No other questions for Ms. Barrero? Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Any old business anybody would like to discuss in the committee? Any new business? Only
Madam
new
Chair.
business I have is the goals and objectives for fiscal year 2025. Other committees have been asked to put forth, from what I understand, 2 sentences of what we believe our committee wants to accomplish in 2025. So I'll open the floor for discussion. Ms. Gums?
Madam Chair, I do have one noted announcement for new business. If
Okay, well, let's talk about this, the goals first, and then we'll move on to you. Anybody want to put forth any goals? Any objections? Any objectives? So the one that we did have was to continue to review the financial impact of the Safety Act. I think that's an important goal for us to do as a committee. Are we in agreement with that one?
yes,
Okay, and then the second goal I would thought about was on space needs for our judicial public safety partners. We know KingCom is in dire need of space needs. I think that's something that we need to make sure that we have at the forefront for 2025. Anybody else want to bring anything up? Those are 2 sentences, so,
I think they're great.
okay. Okay, we're done with that assignment, and Ms. Gums, new business.
I just want to make an announcement. I hope you're all very proud. I am. I received early last week. Some of you know this, so thank you already, but I received last week a confirmation for nomination to the National Association of Counties Judicial and Public Safety Steering Committee in Washington. I kind of think it's a big deal. And as you know, when I was in Washington, I talked specifically about all the programs that all of you are doing and all the wonderful things that King County is doing. I've got congratulations from our state's attorney, our undersheriff, our public defender. I'm very thrilled to have been nominated, and out of 40,000 county officials, it's kind of a big deal for us. So collaboration in this team so that we can, we have a place at the table now. So I think that would be a goal that I would like to see, so that we can collaborate legislatively. And I have monthly meetings, and I'll be in DC in February, and the annual conference, wherever that might be. So those are my obligations, but it's kind of a big deal, and I'm very proud that King County, and I think it's not me. When I was there, I spoke about our programs, and I think that's what elevated us, because people wanted to pay attention to what we were doing. And so I'm very proud of King County.
Thank you, Ms. Gums. I think for a very long time, King County has kind of remained a little island compared to the rest of Illinois and the rest of the counties who have national, not recognition, but a national audience. They're involved in these organizations, which I think are very important. Even though we're members, I think we need to be actively engaged with other states and, find out what best practices are. What is everybody else doing? Counties our size, similar demographics. We don't fit exactly what Illinois is doing, but there are other counties out there throughout the country that are similar to us. And I think it's important that we engage and we learn from them and we get collaboration, like you said, what best practices are and what else we can do to make this county better. So thank you for your time commitment on that.
Thank you.
Okay, any other new business? Okay, may I have consent to place reports on file?
Roth will make a request for an unanimous approval. to put
Okay,
the
any
reports on file.
opposition? Okay, reports are placed on file. We have no need for executive session. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Roth will make the motion to
Mr.
adjourn.
Roth moves, second. Mr.
Linder,
Williams, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any opposition? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for your time.